History is often written in ink, but the truth is usually written in the soil. We like to believe we understand the Viking Age. We visualize the raids, the kings, and the longships with a clarity that borders on arrogance. We rely on the sagas and the chronicles of monks who trembled in their stone towers. But every once in a while, the earth gives up a secret that doesn't just add a page to the history books, it threatens to burn the whole library down. On a windswept farm on the coast of Denmark, a routine survey began as a bureaucratic formality. It was supposed to be a box-ticking exercise for a local farmer extending his storage barns. But just inches beneath the plow line, lying in the darkness where nothing was supposed to survive, lay an anomaly. It began with a ship. It ended with a revelation that challenges our understanding of gender, faith, and warfare in the ancient world. What archaeologists found here wasn't just a grave, it was a cover-up. In Denmark, heritage laws are strict. Before the first shovel of construction hits the dirt, the past must be consulted. The team deployed to this coastal farm consisted of 2 lead archaeologists and a handful of trained volunteers. Their tool of choice was high-resolution ground-penetrating radar, or GPR. This technology fires radio waves into the earth, measuring the dielectric contrast, the subtle differences in density between packed soil, stone, and bone. Usually, these scans reveal the mundane ghosts of agriculture: old fence lines, scattered pottery, the debris of centuries of farming. As the technicians paced the field, walking their precise grid lines, the monitor showed nothing but static. Until it didn't. A technician noticed a sharp, unnatural curve manifesting on the display. Nature rarely draws straight lines, and it almost never draws perfect geometric arcs. Thinking it was a glitch, perhaps interference from a nearby power line or a calibration error, they reset the equipment. They ran the sweep again. The image sharpened. The arc wasn't a glitch, it was the prow of a ship. As they widened the scan, the ghost took form. It was a continuous 66-foot outline, a massive Viking longship. The data caused immediate confusion. Ships of this magnitude, the dragon ships of the sagas, are almost exclusively found in royal burial mounds, protected by tons of earth and marked by centuries of local legend. But this ship was hiding in plain sight. It was buried less than 2 feet below the topsoil. It had no mound, no marker. It was dangerously shallow, vulnerable to the plow, as if it had been placed there in a hurry or hidden on purpose. The decision was made to break ground immediately. As the excavators peeled back the turf, the tension on site shifted from academic curiosity to unease. The wood of the ship had long since rotted away, victim to the oxygen-rich soil near the surface. But the earth has a memory. The ship had left a perfect soil stain, a dark, carbon-rich imprint showing the exact curvature of the hull. It was a phantom vessel, preserved only as a shadow in the dirt. The depth was the first red flag. In traditional elite burials, the dead are interred deep within the earth, insulated from the world of the living. This ship felt exposed. The lead archaeologist noted in the field report that the burial felt rushed, lacking the monumental preparation of a king's grave. But as they cleaned the outline of the hull, they realized the ship was not the beginning of the story. It was merely the final chapter. Beneath the stern, they uncovered a semicircle of stones. This was not random debris. The stones were set in a deliberate, ritualistic pattern, a geometric formation recorded in rare sites in Norway, but virtually unknown in Denmark. The layout suggested a ceremonial gateway, a demarcation between the mundane world and the sacred. Even stranger were the tool marks found on preserved fragments of the keel's imprint. The edge marks did not match Danish shipbuilding techniques of the late 9th century. They bore the distinctive signature of Swedish boatwrights from an earlier era. This vessel had traveled far, or it was built by hands that didn't belong to this land.
Archaeology is the study of context. To understand the ship, the team had to destroy the image of it, digging through the stain to see what lay beneath. The stratigraphy, the layers of soil, changed instantly under the keel. The earth became darker, heavier, and greasy with organic material. They had hit an anthropogenic horizon, a layer of soil created by human activity. First came the charcoal, a vast, flattened layer of burned plant material stretched out beneath the ship. This was not the remnant of a wildfire. The distribution was too even. This was a purification fire, a controlled ritual burn designed to cleanse the ground before a burial. Then came the copper. Hundreds of small fragments, not jewelry, but raw clips and seemingly useless scraps were found in tight clusters. Offerings? Currency for the afterlife? But the most disturbing find was the void. Directly beneath the center of the ship, the team found a circular pit. It had been dug with precision, used for a specific purpose, and then refilled long before the ship was placed over it. Was it a post hole for a totem? A sacrificial well? Whatever it held, it had been removed or erased. The Vikings had literally parked a 60-foot warship on top of it, sealing the site effectively. As the excavation expanded laterally, the quiet mystery of the ritual pit gave way to the loud reality of war. A metallic clink against a trowel signaled the discovery of the first weapon, then another, then a dozen. This was not the scattered debris of a grave robbery. It was a hoard. A cluster of iron spearheads lay packed together, tip to tip, bound by the corrosion of 1,000 years. Nearby, shield bosses, the heavy metal centers of Viking shields, were arranged in a crescent formation. They were placed with such order that it mimicked a shield wall on a battlefield. The forensic analysis of the gear shattered the idea of a ceremonial burial. The leather bindings, miraculously preserved in anaerobic pockets of clay, were stiff and worn. They showed the sweat and friction of constant use. The swords found nearby were not ornamental. Their edges bore the jagged nicks of blade-on-blade contact. Even more telling were the whetstones. They were found in bundles, broken and used. This was not a king's treasury. This was a depot. This was the gear of a professional fighting unit, standardized, maintained, and battle-ready. The team was now working under the assumption that they had found the resting place of a great chieftain's retinue. But they were wrong. The final layer revealed the architects of this violence. It began with a single skeleton, then a second, then a row. A mass grave emerged, the bodies laid out shoulder to shoulder in a tight, unified formation. They faced the same direction, aligned with a precision that spoke of rigid discipline, even in death. The osteologist on site began the standard procedure of sexing the skeletons, examining the pelvic inlet and the sciatic notch. He paused. He checked again. He called for a second opinion. The skeleton was female. As the team worked down the line, the anomaly became a pattern. The second skeleton, female. The third, female. Every single body in this militaristic formation was biologically female. The immediate skepticism was crushing. Could these be camp followers? Slaves sacrificed for a lord? The bones held the answer. These women were not victims. They were the aggressors.
The musculoskeletal stress markers, the ridges on the bones where muscles attach, told a story of immense physical labor. Their shoulders were developed from drawing heavy bows or swinging iron. Their ribs showed healed fractures. Their tibias showed the wear patterns of long marches. These were bodies forged in conflict, and they were armed. Many held weapons in their skeletal embrace. The placement wasn't ceremonial, it was possessive. If the gender of the warriors was a shock, the artifacts they carried were a historical heresy. Clutched in the hands of these pagan warriors, buried in a pre-Christian landscape, were crosses. Small, crude symbols of faith, carved from whalebone, cast in bronze and whittled from wood. Radiocarbon dating placed the burial decades before King Harald Bluetooth officially converted Denmark to Christianity. This timeline shouldn't exist. The forensic team deployed the final tool in their arsenal: strontium isotope analysis. By testing the enamel of the teeth, they could determine the geological signature of the water these women drank as children. The results were definitive. They were not locals. They were not sisters by blood. The isotopes placed their origins all over the known world, from the icy coasts of northern Norway to the Slavic lands of the Baltic, perhaps even as far as the British Isles. They were diverse in origin, but their diet analysis showed that for the last years of their lives, they ate the exact same food in the exact same place. The conclusion is inescapable, though it terrifies the traditionalists. These women were recruited. They traveled from distant lands to join a collective. They lived together, trained together, and died together. They were a monastic, military order of women, operating in the shadows of a pagan world, guarding a faith that had not yet conquered the North. We are left with a picture that defies every narrative we have been taught. A shallow ship, a hidden pit, a hoard of well-used weapons, and a regiment of women from across the world united by war and a foreign god. Why were they buried so quickly? Why was a ship placed on top of them, as if to seal them in or perhaps to honor them in the only language the locals understood? This discovery forces us to ask, how much of history has been edited out? Were these the outliers, or was the Viking Age far more complex, diverse, and strange than we ever imagined? The ship has rotted away. The iron has rusted, but the bones remain, a silent testament to a sisterhood that history tried to forget.